a Barbie ass with some. Eat a Barbie ass with some. Hello guys, welcome back to my second channel. Today I've been inspired to make a video on if he wanted to, he would, because I think it's terrible advice. And actually I was on a podcast with Margarita Nazarenko a couple of months ago, and in the video she asked me this: what do you think of if he wanted to, he would? And I couldn't answer it because I had not pondered it enough. And guys, I have been pondering it and I've come to the conclusion it is terrible advice. It is so harmful. So let's get into it. Let me pull up my... By the way, guys, the Life Formula 2025 is out now on themindformulas.com. The digital version is out. The printed version should be available early January. Sign up. This is the all-in-one journal to revolutionize your life. Literally, when I launched it in 2023, people were so obsessed with it. There have been so many copies now, but guess what? I've upgraded it. No one has my brain, period. This is a journal. Manifestation, time management. You want to achieve your business goals, any goals, the Life Formula. Let's get into it. Why is if he wanted to, he would, or if they wanted to, they would, terrible advice? It's because it simplifies what humans are like. You can't just say, well, if they wanted to, they would. Humans are so much more complex than that. This video will be about love in the situations of the heart, because that is where we are the most vulnerable and the most sensitive. For example, attachment styles. Go watch this video. Depending on what attachment style you have, it's going to dictate your actions or your lack of actions. For example, if you're an avoidant attachment person, you might withdraw in situations which put a lot of pressure on you. And someone else with a different attachment style, you might be saying, well, if he wanted to show up for me, he would. If he wanted to do this, he would. But someone who's so avoidant, they won't even allow themselves to. They may want to, but they won't allow it. If I didn't actually go through this myself, I would probably lean towards, oh no, if they wanted to, they would. Until I was in this situation. I was in a situation with a guy where I had never felt such a strong connection. Ultimately, I had to leave due to reasons we don't need to talk about in this video. But for a long time, I was pondering, had I made the wrong decision? Did I throw away something that could be potentially great? And I thought about messaging them for 5 months. I knew they wouldn't message me because I basically said, you know, stay out of my life. Like, you are not the one for me. I was so harsh. So for 5 months, I thought about this and I wanted to message every single day for 5 months, and I didn't. I wanted to, but I didn't. You know why? Because I was so terrified of the outcome. I was terrified of what if we worked. I was terrified of what if we didn't work and the pain that would come with that. And it wasn't until I went through it, I was like, damn, this saying is absolute bullshit. Because someone could say, hey, if you actually wanted to message him, you would. You would get over your fears. But sometimes the logical solution is to not do what you want to do, because I didn't think it was worth actually messaging at the end of the day, even though I wanted to. If you're anxious attachment, maybe someone's not doing something because they don't want to seem like too much. People have so many fears which are stopping them from doing what they want to do. How come in every situation besides love, especially in career, we always talk about how our fear is what is holding us back? But you need to apply this to love as well. Our fears are holding us back and holding them back from doing what they want to do. Now, in situations where, oh, he should have planned a better date, he should have done better for my birthday, I think that's very different. Of course, again, there are more complex realities to this. For example, maybe he didn't go all out like that TikTok on your birthday because he didn't have money and he didn't want you to know he didn't have money. And that may sound like an excuse to you, but the reality is people's situations are much more complex, and more than their situation, their mental state is complex. So if we just simplify it to, they didn't want to do that to me, we're looking at this in a very black and white way. Human behavior is grey, it is not black and white. If he wanted to, he would. It implies people's actions are always clear and straightforward, which is not true. It also overlooks your own role in the situation. For example, sometimes we expect people to read our minds or act in a particular way that we think they should act, but that's not in line with how they behave, because people also have different love languages. For example, my mom's love language is acts of services. Growing up, she'd always say, like, help me clean the house, and she wouldn't want me, she didn't want to have to tell me to like pick up and clean things. She wanted me to notice it, and that's how I think she felt loved. So when I wouldn't do that, she would feel unloved. That's not my love language. My love language is more gift giving, and that doesn't align with my mother. So if you're in a relationship, you need to find the middle ground and also have that emotional regulation yourself to be like, oh, just because they didn't do this, it doesn't mean they don't love me, because that's also your own problem. That's something you need to navigate within yourself. It's not always the other person's fault, and it's very easy to push blame. Communication is key. Additionally, this advice is terrible because it fuels insecurity and overgeneralization. If he wanted to, he would, girl. He just doesn't want you that badly. While that may be true, it also places the blame on us, and it makes us feel unworthy and unlovable. Like, oh, maybe if I was better, he would overcome all these fears and he would go and do this and this and this. But I guess I'm not pretty or smart enough, so he's not doing that. We've all fallen into a trap thinking like this. And again, the reality is humans are complex. And this phrase just overgeneralizes everything. We can also go into someone's upbringing and their past experiences. Someone raised in an emotionally neglectful environment or an abusive environment, they may not even have learned how to express themselves or love you in the way that you need. And unfortunately, it's better to just avoid people like this because you don't want to really fix someone. Maybe you're very charitable and you can go do that. Personally, I'm not gonna do that. Been there, done that. Been there, done that when I was younger. It is very emotionally taxing. When I was in my first relationship, my ex did not know how to love in the same way I loved because of his upbringing especially. And I would always just think, yeah, if he wanted to, he would. Why aren't you doing this? You don't want to do it. It was much more complicated than that. Like, I did not even know, I think, until our breakup, how much was going inside that man's head when I thought there was like nothing going on. Mental health. People sometimes don't have the mental stability to show up for you in the way they need. For example, one of my best friends, I know no matter what, she's always going to be there for me, but she's pretty inconsistent. So at the beginning of our friendship, when I did not know her patterns, I actually just thought, yeah, if she wanted to, she would. Until she literally was like, I can't show up for you because I cannot show up for myself. And it would be selfish for me to be like, well, if she wanted to show up for me, she would overcome everything she's going through. Because also someone's probably not sharing everything going on with them with you. So it's just selfish. It's selfish to expect someone to overcome everything. And this is the only situation I think if they wanted to, they would, is applicable. Aside from every single thing I said in this video, if they wanted to, they would, but in their own timing, not on your timing. Because again, you know, an avoidant attachment can really love you, but you're putting pressure on them. Their natural response is to retreat. And if they're not self-aware enough, they probably don't even know why they are retreating from you or why they can't show up in the way you need. So yeah, if someone lacks self-awareness, it's going to be 10 times more difficult to show up. Everyone behaves in such a different way, and knowing attachment styles, it can help generalize and predict their behavior and also give explanation for why they do the things they do. But again, it's an oversimplification. Situations are more complex and nuanced than that. So I think it's helpful to avoid saying if they wanted to, they would do that for me, and actually communicate and have a talk with whoever is letting you down. So to conclude, people are complicated. If he wanted to, he would. Oversimplifies human behavior. It ignores mental health. It ignores situations, personal circumstances. It ignores attachment styles. So instead of jumping to conclusions, why don't you prioritize communication, empathy, and observing patterns over time? If you realize that this person is not capable of showing up for me in the way that I need, it is in your best interest to find someone else who can. And unfortunately, some people, they just can't be changed. Even if they want to change, they can't be changed because they don't even know how to do it. And it's so easy to be like, well, go figure it out. Go get therapy. It's a lot more difficult than that. It's in your best interest to just go away and find someone else who can show up for you in the way you need. So, love you guys. Don't forget the mind formula right here. Love you guys. Tschüss.